Hello, I'm Benjamin Coy, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
And I'm Emma G, Team Rayceen's Productions co-host and moderator.
I'm Erin Palmer, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
And I'm Dappho, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
Joining us are Kaecy and NJ.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, thank you for being here. My name is Benjamin Coy, and I will moderate our discussion about religion and identity, which was inspired by the documentary film We Too Are Called. Kaecy, please introduce yourself. NJ, introduce yourself as well, and give us a brief synopsis of the film.
All right. Thank you. So my name is Kaecy. I am a singer-songwriter and filmmaker from South Africa. And we created this documentary called We Too Are Called, which chronicles the lives of openly queer Christian people. The documentary just looks into their lived experiences. And this is just to open up those conversations that we've all been wanting to have about how the church treats queer people. NJ?
Hi, I'm NJ. I'm a worship leader and a singer-songwriter. And for me, it was important to be part of this documentary because of the extensive work that I've done within the faith worship space or music space, and also living in the continent of Africa.
Beautiful. Let's take a moment for everyone to share their thoughts about the film and ask Kaecy and NJ any questions about it. Let's start with Emma.
Oh goodness, this it's funny because I recognize that as I was watching this, I've been living here in the States for the last 8.5 years, but I'm originally from New Zealand. So my background and how I sort of responded to this documentary was perhaps a little unorthodox from the typical American viewer, particularly American viewer from of color and of faith. Because I've been involved with the Baptist Church now for just over 2 years here in DC, or the DMV rather. But one of the main reasons for real that I got involved with this church in the first place was because they are so embracing of the LGBTQIA plus community. And so watching this film kind of just punched me in the feelings over and over and over again. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that I think we have such a skewed idea of what real life in South Africa is like in this country, and especially through not just the religious lens, but the music lens and the creativity lens and the freedom of expression lens. Can you kind of speak on that a little bit? I'm really quite fascinated by the cultural components.
If I can go first, NJ. So I mean, you're absolutely right. I think South Africa is sitting in a very different because we are. It was the first country to legalize, protect, and basically acknowledge LGBTQ rights as human rights. It's the fifth country to also legalize gay marriages. So with all of these things happening legislatively and in the law, there are still a lot of unsavory attitudes towards the queer community. And a lot of that stems from faith spaces. A lot of that stems from the pulpit. So when you are someone that has grown up in the church, that has served and still serves in the church, and basically their whole life revolves around church, and you also happen to be gay, that can have very detrimental effects on your mental and emotional well-being, and your whole outlook about your person. So it's a lot of the times you get gaslit because that's just how it is. It's not supposed to exist in those spaces. but we do exist. And that's why it was important to create this documentary. NJ?
Well, look, our constitution is progressive, but on the ground, it doesn't translate. There are a lot of people who actually reject the fact that our constitution says nobody is supposed to be discriminated on the basis of, their sexuality. And on top of that, I mean, we are a deeply spiritual people. Whether you're looking at spirituality from an African, whether you're following African spirituality or whether you're following, or you're a Christian, across the board, there's a rejection of this thing either not being African or not of God. And so it was important to also engage that. And one of my favorite songs in the project is Nglibo, which was I took a song we used to sing in Sunday school, and I write predominantly in my language so that it can translate, and I join it together with Yes, Jesus Loves Me. Yes, Jesus loves me. And not because the Bible tells me so. Yes, Jesus loves me. He even loves me, because that's the translation of that song in my Nguni language. That's what it says. And so it was important to actually start to engage the elephant in the room, because immediately when you talk about this as a South African, people, oh no, South Africa is progressive, the constitution is progressive, but actually that's not the case. We still have members of the LGBTQI community being murdered every year in this country. And as somebody who helped to actually establish and build a gospel band from scratch, and having worked in ministry all my life, I have had to start over so many times simply because, hey, people are just not okay with the gays, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dappho or Erin, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, wow. Okay, I had a question already scripted out, but my goodness, this is amazing. Speaking of like religion and identity, right? So it kind of reminds me of, so Cinnamon in the doc said something like church life, family life, sexuality life, all separate, right?
Yeah.
And it reminded me of kind of like W.E.B. Du Bois in America, the dual identity that Black folks have in America, right? You're your Black self in your house with your folks, but then when you go out into the world, you have to be washed down, like speak predominant English, not use Ave, or all of these things.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about that and how it relates to being LGBTQ in South Africa. So like, just explain more about how you bring these things together. I know you have the documentary, you're meshing your individual lives, your sexuality with Christianity, and it's a beautiful thing. So just expound more about how you mesh your religion and your identity in a affirming way.
I think for me, it had to, I had to have like serious conversations with myself because I mean, there is that thing where you are different people depending on the situation and the context. But once I mean, this documentary definitely helped, a long way in sort of reconciling all parts of me into one. And when I started doing that, and I wasn't hiding anymore, then, you start seeing other people come out of the woodworks in an affirming manner towards you, but also who need your help, particularly in the church as well, because you can imagine, no one is supposed to exist in the space that, thinks or feels the way that we do. So when they see someone else doing that, or being who they are, authentically are, it really does help. And I think that helped me to realize how important my existence, my visibility really is, because The church always says, come as you are, but they don't really mean it. And when you do come as you are, trust me, they will try to water you down and to put you into this suit that you must put on Sunday, and you can take it out when you leave. But yeah, it's a negotiation every single day.
Indeed.
Well, for me, one of the liberating things I ever had was just, you've got to learn to hold the tension. And it's not because I'm Black existing in South Africa, which is predominantly Black, but economically white.
Yeah.
So I bring all of me, like the spirit of compartmentalization, out. I can't exist in that space. I've learned to embrace intersectionality. I've learned to embrace that in every space, whether I am leading worship or I am running a workshop or wherever, I come with all that I am, and my sexuality is also part of that. And that has come with beautiful experiences, but also not so great experiences. But for me, it doesn't matter what the world says. I will fully show up in the space with all of me. And the religious mantra of come as you are, pish posh, I don't buy that. I'm not about that. And besides, faith begins on the Monday. Like, if you think I thought that being queer was actually taken from me, yet it was liberating me, because then my faith has found an expression outside of the church's four walls. I don't need to wait for a Sunday for me to actually engage my faith. Like, what's that? Like, whether it's a Monday or it's a Thursday or whatever, like whether I'm at Groove or not, I will engage my faith.
So Groove is partying for the Americans.
Got you.
Yeah, that's so wild, because it's like the ones who are not supposed to be Christian, the gays are actually doing what Christ is really telling us to do, being Christian every day, not just Sunday. But no, thank you so much for those answers. Great.
Yes. Erin, did you want to hop in?
Yes, just a quick question based on something you said earlier about South Africa being progressive on paper. And I'm wondering if the documentary has an impact beyond your own home country, to places where there is active legislative and policy efforts that are anti-LGBTQ. And a clip from the documentary that stood out so much to me was the statement that, and I don't recall which individual was talking about being asked by the church to talk about other people who were gay within the church. And I thought that was so important to hear, the kind of forced outing. And I'm again wondering how you think this documentary impacts places that are facing overt anti-LGBTQ efforts.
So I'll go first. So I had a screening of the documentary on last week Monday. I'm currently in the US, in Newark, Delaware, on a fellowship with the Mandela Washington Fellowship. And part of the reason why I was selected is because of the documentary, and the work that I do through that. And the fellowship has 700 other African, movers and shakers from other African countries. We have 40 from South Africa. But in Delaware, at the University of Delaware, there's only 2 South Africans. The rest are from other African states. And when we have these conversations, also because my nails are painted, I wear short shorts, and I call people darling all the time. So people are uncomfortable and they can't hide it, but it's because of where they come from. So part of the work that I intend to do, particularly through the opportunities that I'm garnering through this fellowship, is to take this documentary out, because it is important that it reaches those regions. Some of the issues that we have in South Africa, even though we have a progressive constitution and laws, on paper, it really is one of the safer places in Africa. And what that means is you have a lot of people coming in from other African countries into South Africa to find refuge, right? But unfortunately, it's still difficult for them to live out their truth because of these unsavory attitudes. So I intend to, foster relationships with other African fellows to push, not just with this documentary, but with other projects as well. But also, I have been fortunate enough to be in rooms with people who refer to themselves as the African diaspora or the sixth region, who are fighting outside of Africa for the betterment of Africa. And every time I go to these things, I don't see anything about human rights or LGBTQ rights. And it's shocking to me because when all these countries are passing all these diabolical laws, the Africans who are in the diaspora are very quiet. They're very quiet. I don't know why. So it's also pushing that agenda with people outside of Africa so that we can collectively fight this injustice together.
Can I just ask one quick question? You said that they're known as the sixth
region, yes.
Region. What does that mean exactly?
So Africa currently split into 5 regions. So you have the North, South, East, West, Central.
Okay.
So the sixth region covers all Africans outside of Africa. So
gotcha. Okay.
Europe, yeah.
Sorry, naive New Zealander here. Don't know. Okay.
I'm gonna hop in here so we can be cognizant of the time that we have together. But I do want to flip the table just a little bit and pose this question to my lovely co-host here. If you could briefly tell me something you learned from the documentary, I'll start with Dappho. But before we go there, I personally, for me, it was so representative of a lot of my experience just with a church growing up in the South. And it was in so many ways comforting to hear someone else share their story and it be some of the stories that I know of from family and friends, something I may have experienced. So just want to, again, commend you for sharing your voice, sharing your story. But I do want to, again, flip it over to my co-host. Dappho, what's something briefly that you learned in this documentary? And then we'll go to Emma.
Yeah, just that you all are doing what you're doing. It's so encouraging and it's so enlightening and it's so like, I love it because I'm a Christian, I'm gay, I'm an elder in my church, Wow. I love God, I love Jesus. I don't think that Jesus is any of this stuff that people are trying to, you know what I mean? Jesus was love, God is love, Jesus is love. So, and I'm just grateful to learn about how Africa, South Africa, we had Pride Afrique 23 on a little bit ago, but I'm just excited about how Africa is showing themselves and like we're here and we're queer and respect us, love us, and watch us be our best selves. So I'm just very grateful for all the work that you guys have put into it and honored to be here talking with you all.
Thank you.
Emma.
Yeah, Dappho, you're making me laugh. There's a movie that came out like years ago. Well, we're here, we're queer. Get used to it. Don't mess with us. Okay. I'm like, okay. No, I want to echo what you're saying, Dappho. I like I mentioned, I'm relatively new to the church, and that's in like a big part because I do not like the way that most churches treat, as an ally, I don't like how people treat other folk that don't look, taste, and smell like them. And I think that's a really important thing for me. We walk like Jesus, we talk like Jesus, we do like Jesus. That's a really important component, and that means to love all, honor all, respect all, and lift all. And so I think that narrative that you guys are not just lifting each other, but lifting others and helping to just elevate and the respect and the love and the honor for the community across the globe, for real, is just really inspiring for me. So thank you for your work, for your purpose, mission, and vision.
Thank you.
Erin?
Well, I learned so much. Every moment of watching the documentary was a learning experience. And Kaecy, I want to highlight something that you said during the documentary about how coming out happens in stages.
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me because I think it speaks to the broader course of humanity, and how we are always learning and becoming more of ourselves as we make our way through life. And I appreciate, I'm not particularly religious, so the religious aspect and lens of the documentary was really moving to me. I think that when we can view religion as welcoming and inclusive and as an expression of compassion, that's when I feel close to it. Not as a way to manage people or control them, but to allow authenticity and love for each other. So thank you. I learned a ton.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. Hi. Kaecy and NJ, if you can quickly share how people can learn more about you and your music, and we can start with NJ.
You can find all my music on all digital platform, music digital platforms. Don't guys, the English data bundles have gone, but like it's NJ Kunene, so Kunene. I've got an EP that tells of queer love stories, and also there's a bit of stuff around faith. And also you can check out my social media pages, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Well, Instagram, NJ_Kunene, KUNJ, that's NJ_KUNENE. And also you can check out my website, njkunene.com. And yeah, pretty much you can find me there.
Kaecy?
Great. I am Kaecy, KAE_music on all platforms. That is Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. And particularly on Instagram, you can find a link to all my other social media. I have one album which is on all streaming platforms. This one's so beautiful, and we're working on a new one, so hopefully I'll have something for you next year. And then of course we have the We Too Are Called documentary and album, which are on all streaming platforms. The documentary though is on YouTube. And yeah, that's that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both for joining us. Thank you all for coming. Thank my co-hosts for joining us as well. Viewers, please look in the description box below for links. Thank you for watching. To those watching, please follow Team Rayceen on social media and subscribe to the Team Rayceen YouTube channel. Viewers, thank you for watching.